one. The Father is doing something new outside of the scopes of our religious backgrounds and what we've been exposed to and how we were raised. And some places where we chose to settle and have not moved on in the things of the Spirit. So today I want to start a title, a teaching, minimal series, because I'm going to walk through scriptures. I'm just going to warn you today. I'm just going to set the backdrop, but we're going to eventually we'll look within the lens of this title. Let's go to 1 Timothy 3:14. The title is The Pillar and Ground of the Truth. The pillar and the ground of the truth, not a truth. So we're not building on sand, we're building on the rock. Amen. So we need to see if we can get there in our spirit, and maybe we can internalize this. 1 Timothy 3:14 says, "These things write unto you, hoping to come unto you shortly. But if I tarry," he's talking to Timothy, right? Mm-hmm. That's the title of the book, the chapter, the book. And he's telling them, he said, "I want to come to you." Amen. That was his son. I mean, know Paul had many sons, and we had a few of them, like Philemon and Timotheus. He had sons that stayed put, sons that walked away. But most of the part is that he said he had a desire to come near to his son. But because he could not make it there, he said, "These things I write unto you, hoping to come unto you shortly. But if I tarry long, that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thyself," where? Which is the church of the living God. So the house of God is the church of the living God. Right? Therefore, the house, the church, has become the pillar and ground of truth. Hence my message. And without controversy. Now this is the pillar to him. This is what he's penning to Timothy. Timothy was a young apostle. He was over the church in Ephesus. And he's telling Timothy, he said, "Timothy, without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness." There are 8 mysteries. If you look long enough and you get around a whole bunch of podcasting, they'll come up with probably about 14 of them. But there are 8 essential mysteries in scriptures. He said God was manifested in the what? Flesh. Because that violates all of the religious backgrounds, because most religion, if you Hindus, Buddhists, at that time they had Gnosticism was prevalent, and so they had these inconsistent philosophies, and they had the Stoics and Epicureans over in Mars Hill, found by pleasure, felt like life was just a random choice, and so he says, no, God was manifested in the flesh. Talking about who? Jesus. He was justified in the Spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. Now that's a heck of a pillar. Amen. What if we could take those expressions and build our life on it and look through the scriptures, specifically the New Testament, and allow the Spirit of wisdom and revelation to open up the eyes of our understanding and quicken us to a level of understanding that we can allow that concept to really permeate our spirit, that the incarnation is so significant. And even though we talk about the incarnation recently, everything that I center on, or all of my teachings are based on somewhere, the underlying thing is that the Word needs to be made flesh. Amen. That's why you do what you do. Right? That's why you have good disciplines and good habits. Right? And your anticipation is that somehow it will matriculate into your life and become a part of who you are. Or should I say, you become a part of it. God forbid if it become a part of who you are in your present state. Amen. It has to be an exchange. Right? So, when we look into the scriptures, how many know that there are approximately I think it's I used to say it was 38,000. I think that's a little old. They said it's approximately 54,000, just the church, in all its varied expressions, 54,000 plus denominations in the earth. Now, these are headquarters or sources of higher learning that most of them are independent of one another. Although most of the 54 are only hybrids of the previous thoughts of learning. So most folks come out of those systems, am I right? And they start their version of church. And if you know anything about anything, if it keeps replicating itself, I'm not a clinician, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not into all of the inner workings of the human body, but from what I understood, the expectation a few years ago was that COVID would eventually do what? Not kill us, don't say kill us. No, if you like Trump, just get some bleach. No, they ain't talking about that. As it begin to mutate, it will lose its strength. Am I right? Same thing. As the church has chosen to mutate itself, it has lost its strength, which means it hasn't become a pillar and ground of truth. And the reason why, because we've allowed the human mind to conceptualize spiritual truths. And the origin of the Bible wasn't in America.
All right.
You got that?
Mm-hmm.
So the Bible is not, in fact, you won't find America in it.
Right.
I know what they're telling us in dispensationalism. You go over there, they're looking for eagles and whatnot, and that's us. But the problem is we're a bit conflicted because we had no previous access to this type of documentation. Am I right? None of us were raised with it. We were raised by and defined by our denominational, am I right? Mm-hmm. Our denominational affiliations. So the problem is that we're trying to read a book about a man that was born in the East, that had a totally different culture than we in America, because America wasn't discovered yet. And Jesus is not American.
Come on.
Republicans, since I'm streaming on 3 different ways, amen. So we can't read an Eastern book, right? It's from the East. This Bible is from the East. So we're in the
West.
Oh, thank God. We're in the West. So we can't read an Eastern book with Western eyes. We're going to be blind to truth. So that's why people always say, well, Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, and all. I'm going back to the origin.
All right.
You know, I have to go back to the roots. You get what I'm saying? Because we learned principle. If the root is, then the... So if my understanding is correct, what's the result? My life is correct. So my life becomes an element of truth, a reflection of truth. You get what I'm saying? And so that is what I want to talk about. I want to get people to understand it's not as complicated as we think. Yet there are truths in scriptures. Thank God for the advent of the internet a few years, a couple of decades ago, and it became a game changer. It neutralized philosophical views. It gave us an opportunity to have a true platform. Am I right? Mm-hmm. And I know where some of us don't like internet, we don't like Google, and we don't like studying. We just don't like stuff. And you'll stay where you are. You won't get any better. And you just change calendars. But your life will never change. But truth belongs to us. Tell your neighbor, truth belongs to us.
Truth belongs to us.
We serve a living God.
Yes.
We're the only entity in the earth that have access to the mind of God. But we got to make sure we don't become institutionalized by the systems that be. You know, I thank God for people being in my life that are radical, that are what I call a riot, radical invasion of truth. That's my riot act. Amen. Not rambunctious, not confrontational, but people just say, you know what? I'm going to buy the truth, sell it not. And we need a people in the earth because there's too many variations right now. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And people are hungry for the answer. They're actually looking and longing to see something. Not our conferences, thank God. I went through that whole system. Not just all of the things that we do in Christendom to keep the troops and, you know, to grab our attention, to keep us excited and keep us hopeful. And if that don't do it, we give you a bill of sale for the next life and tell you, you know, just hold on. No, I'm tired of holding on.
Yes.
I want to hold on to truth. I want to hold fast to the head. But it's time to move forward. It's time to progress in the things of the Spirit. That's why teaching and preaching is important. It's a very important component to energize us, to incentivize us to a course of action. You know what I mean? Because I truly believe that the Bible is one of the single most important assets in the life of a believer. And yet, if you don't treat it as such, it will become your greatest liability.
Yes, sir.